So welcome everyone. This is our session on the summer opportunities hosted by National Fellowships and Scholar Programs. My name is Jen Bess. I'm the Director of National Fellowships. We did have a recording of this from the fall that covered about 10 different options, but we do this session live and kind of repeat it at this point in the semester because there's not as many opportunities, some deadlines have passed, and so we want to be able to focus on just the ones that are still available for you to look into. So we're going to go through, have a few slides, the detail out. We're going to talk a little bit about National Fellowship just in general in the beginning and the resources on campus for you, and then we'll dive into about 7 different opportunities. We're fortunate to have a couple of our fellowship peer mentors on this call with us who have experience with some of these programs, and so they're going to share their thoughts and suggestions with you as well. At any point, please feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, or type it in the chat, and we'll make sure that we address what you're thinking about. So thank you everyone for joining us. Let me just switch over to my slides. So a reminder about National Fellowship resources on campus. So our office, we do have 4 advisors who are happy to meet with you to talk about any of these opportunities. Ethan, myself, Paige, and Taylor. We have our wonderful fellowship peer mentors that you can take to coffee and pick their brains. They also can offer advice. We have a Blackboard organization that has a bunch of different resources. So I will take the list of attendees from this session, and I'll make sure that you're added to get access to that, so you can find us on Blackboard. And then on Blackboard, depending on the competition, we might have some previous winning applications from USC winners that are available to you, and that's only via Blackboard. It just kind of depends on which competition we're talking about, but know that that's a resource that's often available as well. Quickly, we'll just talk about what a National Fellowship is. So these are merit-based awards that are given from outside the university. Some of the opportunities we'll talk about in this session are kind of nebulous as to if they're actually National Fellowships, but they certainly are building blocks of experiences that would make you more competitive for National Fellowships, which is why we talk about them and encourage you to investigate them and participate. So just so you know, these are from, I've tried to highlight things that are eligible for students from all backgrounds and disciplines. So hopefully there's something for everybody in this session. These are the 7 things we're going to talk about today. So we have NSF Reuse, which are research experiences for undergrads. We have the South Carolina Space Consortium, which is also sort of a research-based program. The Gilman, which is for study abroad. Humanity in Action, which is focused on human rights and is typically abroad, but I think right now in the world of COVID, they've been doing some remote options. The Wrangle Summer Program, which is for people who are interested in investigating careers in international affairs and foreign service. TUSA, which is the Taiwan-US Alliance, which is about promoting the relationship between Taiwan and the US and learning Mandarin. That one is also going to be remote, I believe, for this cycle, but it's still a great opportunity to participate. And then SCLI, SCLI, which is a new one that we just encountered this week, which is the Southern Education Leadership Institute, which seems like a really interesting option if you're interested in education equity in the South. So that's a brief overview. So not everything is going to be relevant to everybody, but hopefully something will be of interest to you. So if you just hang tight through all of them, we'll give you some details. So we'll start with NSF Reuse. So here's the link. If you just Google NSF Reuse, you're going to get the search engine page. So these are summer opportunities sponsored by the National Science Foundation. They are independently run programs at universities across the US who receive funding from NSF. They are fully funded programs. These are really great. So you get a stipend, but they also feed you and house you and offer transportation. So you get both experience and financial gain from these programs. They have a big list of opportunities. It's a huge database. You can search by field of study, you can search by location, you can search by keyword, which I usually recommend. And each one is its own specific program, so you have to click through the search engine to the actual page to find out what their application process and deadlines are like. So here's a warning. There's going to be plenty that still have deadlines that are upcoming, but there may be some that the deadlines have already passed. So you just kind of have to dig into this. They are competitive, obviously, because they're really great opportunities. So we usually recommend that you look through and try to find more than one that's of interest, but don't go too crazy. I think our I think average students tend to apply to like 4 to 6 different programs if there are that many of interest to them. These are primarily STEM-focused awards in science, technology, engineering, and math. They do have a few social science type things. So we've had a person do a poli-sci one before. So it's worth looking into the list just to see what's out there. And I'm going to ask at least Maura, if not, Zoe, did you do an REU? I can't remember which of you,
yes,
if both of you did them or not. Yeah. Why don't I pause and let you guys share your experiences and how you found and pursued your REU.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's on?
Yeah, I
Zoe,
can chat about.
Go for it.
Yeah. So I'll just say, first of all, that me and Zoe are both marine science. This does not mean that you have to be marine science or even like a hard STEM to be an REU. Like Jen was talking about, like there are poli-sci REUs out there. So don't think that our experiences, you have to match them like specifically with your interests. So I did have a marine science REU. I applied my freshman year, which was kind of crazy because I didn't think you could do that, but one of my like senior like mentors encouraged me to, and I did have a baseline of research experience, and that's kind of what they're looking for, is like if you have basic lab skills, like maybe you've even worked a month in a lab, like you can draw that out and you can be a good candidate for an REU if you can market yourself well. So I did mine in New Jersey. Usually these are hosted by different universities across the country. Some are even like in Bermuda and stuff at research kind of hubs. So I did mine at Rutgers. I did an ocean science one. I was working on artificial reef ecology, and I was able to go out on a boat and kind of like pull traps and be like really nitty gritty and with field work, which is really cool to me. A lot of them can be field work based. Some of them can be in the lab doing microscope work, doing survey work. There's really a very broad like selection. You just have to go through that RU page and just keep digging. And it's actually kind of fun because you click on a different university and there's like 10 different professors that you can pick from in a university. So there really are hundreds of projects that you can kind of dig through and find which one fits the most for you. Mine was awesome because I got experience writing a proposal, doing lit review, developing my independent project, field work, getting coding experience, and then usually these end with a poster symposium with your little RU cohort. It's usually like 8 to 14-ish people. And then a lot of RUs, they'll pick a winner of that symposium, and then they'll send you to a larger one. So for us, the girl who won ours went to like the Ocean Sciences Conference in like Puerto Rico that year, and they paid for that with the NSF grant. That's another really cool thing about RUs is usually they're paid, the stipends range from like $3,000 to $8,000, including they'll pay for your housing as well. So like, don't think that a summer opportunity, like you're like, oh, but I could waitress and make bank over the summer. Like RUs will pay you, and you can make money off of them, which is really cool that they give you that stipend. Yeah, and I guess my one piece of advice for RUs is, like Jen said, apply to as many as you can. A lot of the applications are copy paste because a lot of them have the same prompts. So you can just change it a little bit by which the differing projects are. I applied to 11, I got into 1, but that doesn't matter because I got into 1. My friend Danny in my cohort applied to 20 and got into 2. So it's all about how much effort you want to put in and kind of up your chances.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, I could also just talk real quick about my experience. Mara gave a really good overview, but yeah, the two main things. So like the first REU I did was in Alaska, and it was very interdisciplinary. So that can be cool too if you're also not super set on one area. Like it was super helpful to me to go into, like, my project was not oceanography, but I got to explore a lot of this stuff about like polar research that expanded, you know, my thinking and what I wanted to do in the future. And so that can be great. And there was someone there actually doing a not political science, but it was like a social science kind of project. So there really is a wide variety. And then the other thing, like Mara said, a lot of stuff is like copy paste. The one thing that I would suggest is that, like, be really specific when you get down to the project. And so even though everything is like pretty similar in terms of they're asking about your research experience, which actually like you don't even have to have any research experience for a lot of these REUs, like especially ones that are geared towards maybe like freshmen and sophomore students. There are some that are more geared towards like seniors or juniors, but yeah, but you know, I would say just go for it and just apply for as many as you can. I think I applied for like 12 my first year. And just really tailor those like specific questions about the project to what you want to do, like show that you have ideas, show that you're excited about the work. And I think that'll give you the best chance among obviously like a very competitive, like flooded with applications type program. But yeah.
Awesome, thanks. So apparently my 4 to 6 average was wrong. Maybe it should be more like 10. But I do think, yeah, the beauty of it is that each one is its own program. They have their own specifications and their own targets in terms of who they want to apply, but there's a lot of similarities in what the applications require. And so, yes, it's this balance of you can reuse things so you're not actually having to write 10 totally distinct applications, but to be most successful, you do want to tailor an application to the specific opportunity so that they know that you've investigated and have a real understanding of what that program offers to you and what you bring to that project. So any questions real quick about NSF REUs? You can chat or you can raise your hand or just ask. Okay, everyone's thinking. The South Carolina Space Consortium, so NASA runs these grants through South Carolina. There's the website. It's a joint funding option. They've got a bunch of different awards. They have an undergraduate research award. They have a Minorities in STEM award. They have a STEM outreach award. And they have the Palmetto Academy, which is kind of like an REU. The Palmetto Academy is exclusively and specifically about summer research. The others are options for funding that include the opportunity to apply for funding that would cover summer research projects. That deadline is 2 weeks from today, so that's pretty fast, but still just enough time if this is something of interest to you. And essentially, you know, is it the Palmetto Academy research, there are projects that you can apply to. I believe with the other ones, it's your own research that the grant can provide funding towards. So if that's the kind of thing you're applying for, just consider, is the work that you're doing, how is the work that you're doing of interest or relevant to the work that NASA is doing? So one theme that you'll see in all of these in terms of application is how does your interest and activity fit and align with what the program is offering? And the closer that alignment is, the better chance you have to be successful in that application. I don't have a ton of detail to say about this SC Space Consortium. I just want you to know that it exists, and we have had students who have received all of these awards. Not one person who's received all of them, but we have had winners in all of the categories. And the Palmetto Academy options, there's often some on campus here or other places around the state. So happy to answer questions about that, but that's kind of a quick one to piggyback off of the REUs because it's somewhat similar. Questions or thoughts? Yeah, I always like that because my brother always wanted to be an astronaut. Not yet though. All right, Gilman Scholarship. So if you are a Pell Grant recipient, then you are eligible to apply for the Gilman. So there's a requirement for financial need for this, but it is still a merit-based competition. The application is open for awarding grants that would fund study abroad this summer, next fall, next academic year, or next spring. So anytime in there, if you're considering studying abroad, this is worth applying for. Grants are up to $5,000. If you're studying a critical need language while you're abroad, which would be Arabic, Chinese, Russian, there's a lot of different options there. You're eligible for an additional $3,000. So potentially you could get $8,000 from the Gilman for study abroad. This is a scholarship, so you are choosing the study abroad program and then asking Gilman to fund it for you. I know this is a crazy world right now to be planning study abroad in, so I think a lot of students are hesitant to apply. But if you were even hoping to study abroad at any point in the next year, whether or not that actually happens, I think it's worth applying to Gilman for funding, because if you get the Gilman and you're not able to study abroad, right now they have been working with a lot of our students on either postponing or reimagining what that study abroad experience looks like. So students have not yet lost the funding, even if they weren't able to go. So I think it's worth a consideration. This is a government-funded program. If you are a Gilman Scholar, you get this great benefit after the fact of having non-competitive hiring status. So if you want to work for the federal government, that can be a pretty nice option. The deadline for summer is in early March. I think it's March 2nd. But anyway, we wanted to flag this for you. We have a ton of Gilman Scholars on campus. A good portion of our fellowship peer mentors are Gilman Scholars themselves. Here are 3 of them that we wanted to picture for you. So this is an option that is really worth considering. The application is really straightforward. They want some details about you, who you are, where you're coming from, where you want to go, why you've chosen a particular study abroad program. And then one requirement of Gilman is that you have a follow-on project, so that when you come back from your study abroad, they want you to have a plan for how are you going to share that experience in a way that encourages students who may not otherwise have considered studying abroad to want to go abroad. So there's lots of different ways you can do that project. Being a peer mentor for office can be part of that, but it's just a great opportunity to give back for what you receive in this opportunity. So is anybody here interested in studying abroad when and if the world ever opens up to Americans again? Thoughts or questions about Gilman? Okay. Humanity in Action. So this is an organization that does a summer program, mostly in Europe, but they also have a program in Atlanta, which this year I believe has been postponed. So this is 4 weeks focused on human rights. It's kind of a combination of like not quite coursework, but like seminars and looking at human rights as it's been struggled with in Europe and the world. So it's a cohort of students, not just from America, but also from select European countries. And it is a fully funded opportunity. It was virtual last summer, so I'm guessing it's going to be virtual this summer, but they may not have decided yet. The application actually is open now, and the deadline is February 14th. So there is about a month if you're interested in this. We do have Sloan Wilson, so she was a peer mentor for us. She's a little busy this semester, but if you've got questions, she had a great experience. We had another student several years before also do the program. So she went to Copenhagen, but they've got sites in various places throughout Europe. It's a really great opportunity if you're interested in any kind of human rights or public service, focusing on how to make the world a better place, really. Kind of like Gilman, there is a project aspect to this where part of what you discuss on the program is an area that you're really interested in working on and improving, and then they want you to come back and work on that in your community with the benefits and the support of the Humanity in Action program. The Atlanta one focuses on civil rights in the U.S. Again, I don't think they're offering it this year due to COVID, but at least the European one is going to be virtual. So more details on their website. Questions or interest in Humanity in Action? Yeah. Okay. Y'all are quiet. Feel free to ask questions. The Wrangle Summer Enrichment Program. So the Wrangle itself, there are 2 scholarships. There is a summer program, which we're talking about here, and then in the for future reference, there is also a fellowship that provides graduate school funding if you're interested in being a foreign service officer. But this program is actually meant for sophomores and juniors who are sort of thinking about and wanting to explore opportunities in the career in foreign affairs, in the foreign service, international affairs, kind of broadly like that. So it's 6 weeks. It's fully funded, so travel, housing, food, plus the stipend. It's at Howard University in DC. They have, essentially, it's a program that is a couple of classes to introduce you to ideas around international affairs and public service. There is a writing seminar. They do visits throughout. They take advantage of location, and you do visits to DC offices to help improve that network. But it's really a way to sort of help you explore and make connections in this field, and to help you get kind of a plan for moving forwards. What is that going to look like for you? Is graduate school involved? What kind of job opportunities are out there and things like that. So that application is open. It's fairly straightforward. It's a couple essays, I think, transcripts, and letters of recommendation. So it's due February 9th. We're happy to help you with that, give you feedback, things like that. So it's a great opportunity. Wrangle itself, the program is interested in increasing the diversity in Foreign Service officers. That diversity takes all forms in terms of who they're looking to include in this program. And the graduate level asks for a lot more financial information. So financial need is a key component of this, but they don't ask, for the summer program, they don't ask for explicit information about that, I don't think. So I think it's a good option for anyone who's thinking along the lines of and wants to know what is it like to be a Foreign Service officer, what does that mean in the U.S., what does international affairs look like in general. So as far as I know right now, this is in person. I think they're reserving the right to make it virtual, but as you know, right now in the current state of the world, that's true of most things, that people are hoping for in person and making plans for virtual options. So questions or thoughts?
Question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They say foreign service is a career. Is that specifically with like the State Department, or are they accepting people with interest in like, the Department of Agriculture working internationally as well, for example?
That's pretty cool. So for the summer program, it's much broader. So it's just bigger picture foreign affairs type of jobs in various locations. So it's really exploratory. So yes, any of that. The graduate one is specifically for Foreign Service. So this is like a big funnel. They're trying to give you a bunch of information here so you can figure out which direction you want to go in. But I think they would welcome that kind of interest. Yeah.
Wonderful. Is the application on Blackboard? I don't believe the link is live on the presentation.
You're right. It's not live in the presentation. I'm sorry. You asked, is the application
on Blackboard, like under the fellowships group?
I'll make sure that this is available on Blackboard so that you can get the link. But if you Google Wrangle Program Summer, it should pop up. But yeah, I'll make sure I can send this out afterwards.
Thank you.
Sure. It looks like somebody else has a question.
Is and how many applicants they typically take?
That's a good question. I don't know how big the program is. I feel like based on pictures I have seen, I want to say like 30, but I don't know that for sure. And I don't know how many applications they get. They don't share that information with us. I would say it's relatively competitive. I mean, all of these are. So none of these are things that you should be like, I am planning to do Wrangle Summer, but it is totally worth putting your hat in to see where it goes. It's not a huge program, but it is a decent size.
Great.
That's a good question. I should know the answer to that. They should tell the answer to that on their website, and I'm not sure that they do. Other questions? No? Okay. I'll make sure that I share this with everybody so that if the links aren't live, you can still have access. So the SCLI, this is the new one that came across our email just recently, but it's an established program that looks really cool. So the Southern Education Leadership Initiative does 8-week fellowships in the summer where they match you and place you with a nonprofit, a school district, a state agency, anybody who's working on education equity in the South. So this is pretty awesome. You have to be if you're an undergrad, you have to have at least 60 hours of credit already earned. So this is really for juniors and seniors. It's also open to graduate students as well. They offer a stipend with travel expenses and to their training site in Atlanta. It's not just, it's based in Atlanta, but the placements are all throughout the South. So there's lots of, if you go on their website, they have links to the various agencies that they have connected students with, and they are throughout the South, all the way up to DC, actually. So right now, the dates are scheduled to be May 24th to July 16th, and they really want them to be in person, so they're doing all they can. But again, they reserve the right to have to make them virtual if necessary. The application deadline is March 1st. It's pretty straightforward. It's a series of, I think, 7 or 8 sort of short answer questions about your interest in education equity, experiences that you've had, what your future plans are, what you bring to the program and what you want to get out of the program. So, as I said, this is relatively new, so I don't have a lot of inside information, but it's a great opportunity and one that we wanted to make sure that we raised so the students were aware that it existed. because this is an important issue of our time. So I would love for anyone on this call to be our first recipient so that we can bring you back as a peer mentor in the future. So let me know if you have questions. We have a little bit more information that they sent us, that I couldn't fit all on the slide. So if you're interested, we're happy to work through the application with you. TUSA. So the Taiwan-U.S. Alliance. So this, they've decided already that the summer will be virtual. The emphasis is on learning Mandarin, and so you need to have already had a year of Mandarin study to be eligible, but you don't have to be fluent by any means. They really are focused on also learning about Taiwanese culture and history and the relationship between the U.S. and Taiwan, why that's important in light of mainland China and things like that. So they're going to hold lessons synchronously. So the timing is a little interesting given the change in time, but they've worked it out. They're ready for that. The application is not quite open yet, but it will be open February 1st. In my experience, the sooner you complete an application, the better your chances are, because it's a little bit of a rolling process, but they are open for applications through March 15th. You can earn academic credit for this. You can get 6 credits over the 8-week program. If you're interested in that, we should chat about what you need to do with the study abroad office to make sure that those credits can get posted to USC. We've had students, we've had students do TUSA in the past and have really great experiences. Paige, our advisor in our office, she was a TUSA scholar as well, so she has a lot of insight into this. But if you have any background in Mandarin or interest in Taiwan-U.S. relations, this is a really great program to participate in. So, questions or thoughts about TUSA? We're kind of bummed that they're doing it virtually, since Taiwan is like one of the safest places to be this summer, or even currently with COVID, but my guess is that in order for them to keep it that way, they want people to stay out. So that's the list. Those are the 7 so that I wanted to feature. Doesn't mean that there are not other summer opportunities that are out there. So anything that you find, whether it's on our database or if it's just something that you come across, as long as it's a nationally competitive competition, we're happy to help you with that, even if we don't know a lot about the ins and outs of that specific program. So in terms of next steps, we suggest that you always check the websites of the programs that you're interested in, make an appointment to talk with one of us as advisors one-on-one. I would say you want to talk with recommenders as soon as possible, because giving them as much time as you can before the deadlines is usually best. Go ahead and make a plan for drafts and deadlines. You don't want to write these the night before. You want us to be able to look over them and give you some feedback. You want to talk them through with your recommenders, even have your friends look over them and make sure that you haven't missed some crazy typo. Let us know you're applying through our intent to apply form. So that's on our website. I can also send that link out to everyone when this is over. We're happy to meet with you to look at your drafts. You can talk to a peer mentor if we've got one in the area that you're interested in. And then don't forget to submit before the deadline. That's a key next step as well. So that's just big picture. And then I think my last slide is really just a thank you slide. So yeah, pretty much. Thank you. So that's me. That's how you connect with me. If you don't follow us on Instagram, it would be a good idea to do so, because we post deadline reminders and opportunities on there. But I want to say thanks to Maura and Zoe for joining us and sharing their thoughts and experiences. You are welcome to share more, Zoe and Maura. If you did other summer opportunities that I didn't mention in this, that would be fine. And I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions that anybody has. So I'm going to pause and see what we're doing. Thank you all. I really hope that there are some things that you want to apply for, because it's definitely not too late.
I could share a quick tip about recommendation letters if you want.
Awesome.
Because I have, dealt with that a lot, emailing professors and getting letters and trying to figure out who to ask and all that stuff. And I know that can be like kind of intimidating. First of all, like, don't be nervous about asking your professors. Like, that's what they do. They're not going to be like, oh, it's not an imposition at all. Like, first of all, so don't worry about that. And then the main tip I would do is just like, first of all, make sure that obviously this is someone you know, or you've like gone and meet with them. And even if you haven't like maybe you've just been in one class with them, especially if you're a freshman, maybe you like don't have as much experience, like go to their office hours, talk to them, get to know them. I think the relationships you make with professors can be like some of the best things to have, like going through college and looking to apply for things. And then when you're applying for something with multiple recommendations, think about how those different recommendations sort of complement each other. So you don't necessarily want 3 people that have taught you in a science class, even if you're applying for a science thing. You might want something like someone that's supervised you in research, or someone who's supervised you, or maybe seen you in class and also seen you in, you know, some extracurricular or something like that, just so that you have a little bit of a broader like range of experiences, because you don't want the people you're applying to be reading the same recommendation letter 3 times, right? Like they want to see the range of those things, and you can kind of guide your letter writers into writing certain things or highlighting certain things about you that you want to reinforce to whoever you're applying to. And so especially if it's like something you've written out in an essay or in a statement about something, you could ask your letter writer to highlight that, and so it sort of shows that you're bringing that forward, and then someone who supervised you is highlighting that once again, so it sort of reinforces maybe something that they're looking for in an applicant, or something that's really important for whatever you would be doing over the summer or in an internship and things like that.
That's really great advice, Zoe. Thank you.
And if anyone has any other questions about recommendation letters or just anything, feel free to ask.
Always available.
I'll just add another like big thank you for you guys coming. Like I'm a huge advocate for opportunity. I think like my big ticket items on my resumes that I've built throughout college have been from summer opportunity, just because you guys know when you're taking classes, you can't focus so much on those extracurriculars, and you can learn so much, like going to different universities, you know, exploring different opportunities, traveling, whatever that is for you. I really hope you guys take advantage of these opportunities, and like you take time from this little January to March period to explore and work with the office, and definitely like just apply, like get your name out there. So I'm really excited for you guys. I hope that you guys come up with some cool opportunities.
Yay. Thank you. It occurred to me that I can stop sharing and we can actually see people, but then no one has their camera on, so. But I can see Mara. Awesome. Well, anyone else have, and now we can see Zoe. Thanks, Zoe. That wasn't meant to pressure you, but. Well, if no one else has questions, I will follow up. You know, I have everyone's name in the participants list, so I'll try and dig up your emails and send you links and the link to the ITA form. And just if you have questions for me or for Maura or Zoe or anyone in the office, we are really here to help you. And yes, I think Maura, you made a really good point that these types of experiences, not only are they just great in terms of resume builders because like, oh, I did something, it is the actual like getting out and doing something that's different than classes. You can actually devote your time and attention to whatever the particular thing is in that opportunity. So that's pretty awesome. Dalton, go for it.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any Wrangle alum or alumna that are at USC
That is a good question. I don't know that we've had anyone do the summer program, so I don't have anyone I can point you to on that. At the grad level, we've had some finalists for Wrangle, and we've had some winners for Pickering, which is like the partner, like Pickering and Wrangle are almost interchangeable in terms of what they are for foreign service. So I have a couple people there I can try and connect you to. But yeah, I don't have anyone from the summer program specifically. You could be the first.
Hey, don't put too many. We're stock.
No pressure.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to the Pickering.
Yeah, awesome.
Dalton, I will say one of the tips that I use when like trying to find alumni from a program or something, because those are really cool people to talk to, is I'll just go on LinkedIn and I'll search the title of the fellowship or the scholarship, and then I'll see if there's any University of South Carolina people, or if there's anybody that you can see that you have more relatable experiences, and just like DM them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'd love to chat about it. So I've done that with like a couple scholarships that like grad programs that we don't necessarily cater to as much here.
And I will say most people are really flattered to get that kind of message, right? Who doesn't? I mean, anybody who's gone through these programs like usually really enjoyed them and is excited to share that with other people. So I wouldn't encourage you not to feel weird about doing that, right? It's like, oh, they won't answer, it'd be such a bother. That's a really good tip. Thanks, Maura. Yeah. Anybody else? Alrighty, well, it's 12:36, so we're in good time. There's still plenty of time left, so I'll go ahead and if I can figure out how to, I'll stop this recording.